Isn't this working? Okay. 3, 2, 3. Fuck off, man. 3, 2, 1.
Behind the Hooks. With Manny DeGrandis. And Daniel Panetta.
Hey.
I'm dying. Oh my God.
Are,
Okay.
are these getting harder to do, Manny?
Well, okay. Hi, everybody. Every time we're about to start, it's not working. Dan's always, it's not working. Oh no. And then it's like 3, 2, 1, and I'm like,
Well, I figure if I give myself a deadline, maybe it'll start working, but that's not how computers work. They don't work on deadlines.
every time. I don't know if that recorded.
We'll find out. Who was it? Steve. He watched the episode of himself, and I think it was either him. Yeah, it was him who said, "Oh, we can fix that in post," and I just put "nope" beside his head, and he texts me. He's like, "Oh, you fucker!"
There's no such thing as posting.
It takes me just as long to cut a part out as it does to put "nope."
Yeah, exactly. You can make it funny or clean it all up.
Well, you know, I did it on the first episode too. I covered my mouth and put "nope" on my hand too. I love doing that.
It's hilarious. I gotta watch them more. I listen to them come in the car more, so I listen to them on.
Oh, good. I'm glad the distribution's working.
Yeah. So many options to listen or watch to us.
Oh man!
But see, the problem is YouTube is where you could see the views, right? Where Spotify, a regular person can't.
I can through
for sure.
Buzzsprout. Like
Yeah,
I could
you
see
can.
the analytics and stuff like that. We're doing okay.
Yeah,
We're doing okay.
we've counted all our family members that like us.
Yes,
and there's more views than that.
Yeah, right.
So,
I just like when like bandmates say, "Hey, man, that was a cool episode" and stuff like that. And, you know, that's nice because I mean, yeah, we do it for everybody to kind of give them an idea of what it is, to, like the behind the scenes of what we do. At the same time, we do it so like musicians can like laugh along with us because it's very relatable, you know, everything they're going through and stuff. I got a text from my mom. She watched the last episode. She watched the last episode.
what year are we in mom jokes?
She watched the last episode. She's like, "I feel so bad. I didn't know that happened to you with like people sabotaging my sound and stuff like that, right?" And I was just like, "Yeah, you know,
you were there."
it was." It's the way it goes, man. It's part of it. It's adds character, right?
Yeah.
But
what's coming up on the agenda with us?
well, we've got.
Was that a good segue?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. You're getting bad at those now. Because I don't know where you're going.
It's just like I spend all day at Starbucks trying to think of segments. Because Starbucks is the best coffee.
Looking for sponsorship?
Yeah.
I'm not from them.
all right.
No. Until they can spell a name right.
Yeah. That's their thing. It's cute.
That's a bad business model.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we were talking earlier about recording software because I since the last show or the last iteration of the show last year, I've switched from my last DAW to PreSonus, and I started that subscription to the PreSonus Sphere. So basically, you have access to everything. It's all like downloadable plugins and VSTs and all that stuff. And I've only used. I haven't had time to really sit down and use the recording stuff, other than for this show. And we've been working on a Christmas tune. And it was the first time I actually sat down and like tried out all the plugins and the instruments and stuff like that. Man, because the last one I had all the presets.
You had everything already.
Yeah, so like I had like the vocal presets saved, the compressors were all saved under that preset. Just drag it and there it was. So now I got to recreate all these presets, but I have a lot more toys now.
Yeah. Too much stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
people are like, oh, like they just have tons and tons of plugins, and I'm like, how do you choose like the reverb, right? Like,
I never get the reverb right. So I should say the stock reverb is never correct. Yeah. So like for voices anyway. So I have to modify that always. So if I don't have a reverb preset, it's not the end of the world, and it changes for every song depending on the style, right? But the meat and potatoes of it, based on like my tone, I like to have the treble a little bit on the upside, just because my voice booms quite a bit, and then keep like the bass flat and mids up a little bit as well, just to keep it still bold but like not boomy, right? Oh, the struggles.
The struggle. So what do you like? So if you go into the studio, this is what my kind of thing, being the bass player, where you just record, you don't bring an amp or anything, and then it's all up to them, your tone, right? Like, what about voice? Like, you gotta like.
So if
it's not your album, if you're like, of course your album, you're all over it and everything, you have a say. But if you're just a session going in to sing something for somebody,
when I've done session work, and I find that, like, I'm pretty dialed back, like compression wise, and it obviously it's not my project, so like I'm not going to be super anal about how I sound. It's obviously up to who's producing it, but I always find like they down. I don't know if it's because my hearing's going but like I'm always like sucked back. Like, even when I used to go into studios and record my stuff, their first, like, before levels were checked, I was always sucked back, and then I was like, okay, boost the hell out of this, but like, I'm pretty meat and potatoes when it comes to that stuff. It's like, okay, I know exactly, like, dial it up to this, dial this up to this, and put a little bit of a little bit of either like slapback or reverb on there to add some I don't like dead air. Yeah. In between my phrases, right? I like things to kind of be linear. And stylistically, things have changed in recording techniques. So it's like dead air is okay, space is okay, and that kind of stuff. But for what I was doing, like the classical stuff and the jazz tunes, it's like you want that kind of fullness in your sound. You want that room sound a little bit. So I don't know, man. Like, it's hard. I haven't walked into a studio to be produced in a very long time, which is probably why it's taken forever for me to come out with shit, because it's like I don't stop until it's like, okay, I can listen to this a couple times and still like not want to pull my hair out. Yeah. So it's hard. But as a vocalist, it's difficult. I mean, even like as an instrumentalist, you're listening for certain nuances, like tonality, or sorry, I should say tonally, what you're going for, and what you want to portray in a certain song, and stylistically how it's going to sound. But I mean, I think it's you have a little bit of control in terms of your tone there on your instrument, or even if you're rigged up like on your amp too, for what you want it to sound like in your cans. But when the project's done and you listen back to it, it's like, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted.
It's really hard, right? All that. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got different sounds and different, like, I mean, and this happens with huge bands, right? You see them, they get a producer and it's like, oh, and then that guy's gone again, I was never really into the production part up until later in life, but in the beginning I was just like, yeah, it's cool. Here's my
play the tunes.
Part.
Here we go.
I was so worried about my bass part, right? And then whatever, I figured that was
which is healthy.
Other guys
though.
Were hired. Right?
That's healthy.
Yeah,
that's the way it kind of should be. As a hired gun or a session guy, everybody has their job. Yeah. But when you start doing it yourself, it's like,
oh my god! I'm like, yeah. Why does that sound like that?
That's why I love producer engineers. Look, okay, I'm old school.
Yeah, I think
the producer and the engineer should be two separate people.
Yeah,
because that's a lot.
It's a lot,
That is a
it's
lot for the brain to wrap around.
Especially like, you know, I know so many brilliant, amazing engineers.
That's an art form in
It's
itself,
an
dude.
art form. It's amazing. The things that they do and post and during and everything. It's just like, whoa. Yeah, and I'm like, that's not the same brain as a producer,
No.
right? A lot of times I get confused with producers on certain projects I've been on. I'm like, you're not producing.
No, because
Like, what are you doing?
You listen back to it and then you tell them what you want it to sound like, and they'll do the work. But like at the end of the day, that's not really production. That's engineering. But they want the production credit. So
Yeah.
I had one really cool experience. I used to work with Jack Lenz, the guy who did the Goosebumps theme song. And he wrote a ton for Andrea Bocelli and Josh Groban and like Mark Masri and like all these like vocal icons, right? And he had a beautiful entertainment center down in Toronto, and the studio was like gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So Jack, who was an accomplished composer and pianist, would be in like the production seat, and Dan, the engineer, was a master. Like this guy, he wasn't. I don't think he was much older than me, but the way that his cuts were clean and segue points clean, and Jack would be like, okay, let's put this here, and he was just a Pro Tools guru. This guy, right? And he had this mastery of like in real time. That's the thing too, right? Because a lot of engineers, if they're producing, listen back, cut, listen back, cut, listen back, cut. Whereas a producer is like listening for certain things. Okay, stop there, and then the engineer in real time lays it all out and makes sure it's like, okay, here it is, boom, first playback. It's like, yep, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a dream team.
Yeah.
I did a whole album in 3 days. Like,
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Especially when you have those Pro Tool wizards, man. Oh man. There was a one funny thing with my first Pro Tools experience, right? I played through a track and I got up and I'm like walking. They're like, "Oh, come on in and listen." And I'm like, "I know I made a mistake in the second verse." By the time it took me to like take off my bass, walk into the control room, he already
was
fixed
fixed.
it. And I was like, whoa, I'm like, you could do that now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it was always to tape, right? And
Yeah.
all that. And I was like, and like, it was just amazing. I was like,
down
whoa.
to like a buzz or like a fret, a fret slide or something like that. Just like those little subtle things. He had a thing about S's.
Yeah, okay.
If you ever listen to this, you'd probably like find out where I lived and killed me, because I don't have a de-esser on here or anything for the podcast, right? But he's like, oh, I can't stand when like, engineers or producers don't take into account an S, because every S is different,
Yeah.
right? And he added something to my S, and like I wish I paid it more attention to that part of it. But man, I was young. I was a kid in like in La La Land.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's just like I was
Exciting.
just still trying to take everything in. And what was really cool was being able to like chat with him about music, and like, because like when you get behind the scenes like that, it takes a bit of the magic away. Like when you become an engineer and like listening to singers you think are great but like needed a lot of post work, or players that you think are great but needed a lot of like editing, and like their tone isn't always great, and maybe it sounds great live but like it doesn't really cut
What's
through
a
on
different
recording.
animal? Yeah.
So like it takes a bit of the magic away, but to see somebody who's like genuinely passionate and like the magic is still there, that's really nice to see, and it's a pleasure to work with people like that, man. I miss, that's what I miss about going into studios, is just that just the creativity in every single seat or hat that you wear, and everybody in the room that contributes, except for like people that claim they're executive producers, but they just they were your ride.
Yeah. People are, snakes everywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, we got heavy last episode. I want to keep this one light. Aye.
Aye, Captain.
Yeah. Anyway, but
Captain Crunch.
have you ever done like studio work with like a big band or an orchestra?
Ooh. No. No, not like a big band jazz or a big, but I've done big band in a studio at the same time, like bigger band, like eight people, 9 people at the same time. Yeah, that kind of thing. But definitely not the 30 or whatever, right? One cool session I did was we did the one microphone thing.
That's a cool session.
I didn't know what I was signed up for, so it was great. I went with my upright, and I brought an amp, and the guy was just like, "Oh, why'd you bring an amp?" And I'm like, "I don't know, because I'm
I didn't know what you
25."
expect.
I'm not even 5, and I'm done. A very dumb boy. It was 4 of us: vocalist, piano, sax.
Oh, you did it with a small group.
Yeah, vocalist, sax, and upright, all on one microphone, and it was hilarious.
Was it just like overhead boom kind of thing?
Yeah, coming down the middle.
Wow.
And it was a jazz thing.
Did the producer like space you guys out in accordance to how far?
Exactly. So it's like, okay, play, stop, Manny, step back a foot. Okay, play, stop.
That's so
come
cool.
Like a half a foot and move the sax player back and don't come in for the solo. Just stay where you are because you're perfectly mixed. It was amazing. We did like 3 songs, all jazz standards, and that was actually one of my real first ones. Like I had to sign a contract when I left, which was so cool. And,
I hit a big tab.
yeah, and then since then, I've always told people, I'm like, sign, like, get people to sign it. Like, everybody's willing to sign it. Just, I don't know. It was kind of weird because there wasn't any originals, so that was kind of weird.
Was it just like a release for your playing, or?
It was a vocalist woman that wanted to record some tunes, and she ended up getting these killer guys. That was such an amazing experience.
That's cool, man.
So cool. And which was great too, because we were brought up, you really have to get the take right the first time. And everybody generally the band would be playing at the same time too, right? Mm-hmm. Amps in different rooms, and you would be playing. It was a lot of rock and roll in the beginning and stuff, but there wasn't really like, you make 2 mistakes. It's like, we're not punching in 2 mistakes. Just do it again, right? Because it was so hard to do, right? and stuff.
Well, recording like that, yeah, especially.
So it was really great with that one because it was like every note was there and had to be right, and it was.
There's a vibe to it too, like when you're all in the room like that, with like a little bit of creative pressure, because a little bit of pressure is good because it forces you to think about it and like just be very aware and cautious about what's going on around you. There's something really cool to that. I was in one session like that, it was like a 4-song thing, same deal, but it was a huge band. It was like a 32-piece band.
Oh yeah, that'd be
strings, the whole bit, right? And one microphone.
They did one mic there, eh?
One microphone. Everybody was seated around, like
in a circle,
Philharmonic style. Okay, you know what I mean? And the microphone I was closest to, right? And the conductor was like in front, just off to the side. So they were in a semicircle around the microphone, and I was kind of like the point. But the conductor was just off to the side by a podium, like just getting everybody in dynamics and everything like that. You heard everything. You heard everything.
I don't know how. One microphone and you hear everything. We have 42 microphones, and I'm like, I can't hear
well,
the
that's
bass.
kudos to the microphone. You know, like you're talking like $3,500 microphone.
Oh yeah,
right.
It was,
and then like tens and tens of thousands of dollars studio, which were built for super high ceilings, acoustically treated. But that's the thing about theaters are like that too, where they're acoustically treated, where you don't need stage mics, you don't need things like that. Those old studios, like from the 60s and 70s, that created these and again, this is part of the production where it's like you created that atmosphere to accommodate either doing the full session with hundreds of microphones and stuff like that, or the single microphone. Because like even places like Sun Records did that. But if you look at the ceiling, it's like this. You know, like it's like that, and it lends to that kind of technique, right? That kind of mic technique, and you're talking like heavy duty machines. The reel to reels are not quiet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're not quiet, dude. They are not quiet. So like the fact that it doesn't pick that up, and you're able to add effects directly to that microphone. Back then, it was a dial, that, you know, or a certain way of recording where something gets slowed down or something like that to create a slapback effect, or you double your voice and then dial back that second recording to give you that slapback. That was a Phil Spector kind of thing to do as well. That wall of sound of like doubles of everything.
Did he introduce? I'm sure it happened before.
Wall of sound.
He introduced the wall of sound.
He introduced that. Like if you listen to like the raw nets and stuff like that, how it's so in your face and just like everything's bleeding. It sounds like all the sound is bleeding, right? That was kind of his technique. But yeah, it was done years and years before he made it famous. I mean, jazz guys were doing that constantly. If you listen to like Bobby Darin's old records and stuff like that, it's like those guys had it figured out too, even with big bands. Just like massive sound. It's like, okay, do it again and we'll line it up. So like whoever's doing percussion, it's like crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, do people double anymore?
Yeah,
Copy paste.
No, well, okay. So if you cut and paste, here's a little tidbit.
Yeah.
If you cut and paste, you're getting an identical footprint.
But you
basically.
could go in there and tick it and touch it up, and
you can. It's a little bit weird because once you cut and paste, it just sounds like an overexposed version of that sound. It's identical, so you're not getting any like little nuance changes here and there. It's not quite a slapback. But if you take off the snap grid and move it just like a hair, then you can duplicate that kind of sound, right? But there's something really cool about, like, Frankie Valli used to do it, you know, back when he was with the Four Seasons. He did it for Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, where he sang it like 4 times.
Really?
He sang the song top to bottom like 4 times. They picked the best 2.
Okay.
And lined it up. Even Sherry was the first time I think that they experimented with that sound, where they like recorded one way, panned it to the left, recorded it the second time, panned it to the right to create that stereo kind of effect. So like what you're getting in each speaker is him singing it individual times, right? Which was really like nobody was doing it that way.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah.
Recording process back in the day was, as much as it was like a hell of a lot of work because you had to like be perfect. Everybody had to be perfect. But there was something really cool, which is why I think the bands were so great back then, because they were in the room, the chemistry was there, you felt and heard everything, and just that the art of that, the single microphone, knowing where everybody, how far everybody needs to be. Like you don't want the strings too close.
Yeah.
You know, you want them more dulled out. Like French horns, bringing them up close is a smart move because it's like they kind of swell, right? Yeah, it's so cool. I love that stuff.
Yeah, and it's mixed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was the funny thing. Like I was like, what? It's taking forever with that one session. Then did a cool one at Phase 1 with Laura Fibberlu, and we had horns and everybody. We all played at the same time, but we had because we're videotaping it too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had whatever blockers in between the sound barrier.
The
it was
panels.
cool. It actually was weird because couldn't see everybody, right? Because of all the
right.
So that part sucked because I like making the contact, but they were smart. They put me next to the drummer and stuff, and I think we had plexiglass or something. Maybe not. I don't know, but we could see each other or something. But Yeah, but it was cool to do that all at the same time, right? That was like, oh, okay, right? Because it wanted a live feel.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking 4-piece plus 2 horns or something.
I think it's so cool to
fun.
do. Like I can't imagine how much more difficult it would be with a smaller group because everything is so like pinpoint and heard. Whereas with a larger band, I mean, like you can get away with a little bit. I think, and especially for like high thin string section or like a piercing trumpet, you can kind of dull back the treble a little bit. But when it's like so isolated and there's so little people in the room, you hear everything. Everything. That's crazy, man. I think that's so cool. Let's take a break.
All right.
I'm so surprised that we found something to talk about. Let's take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back. Hey guys, Daniel here from Behind the Hooks. Just wanted to take this time to let you know about Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is who we use here on our show to distribute our show to all the platforms that we can, Spotify and all that fun stuff. Follow the link in the description and the show notes, and it gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and it helps support our show, which is pretty great. That would be nice. We use it. It's been nothing but great. It's super easy to use. The customer support and the help that I've gotten because I am tech dumb has been nothing but incredible. If you want to upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find the right equipment at the right place. Just start with some gear, a quiet place, and you can literally upload a podcast from anywhere. You'll get real great looking podcasts because of the website. The website is super sleek and it's really nice. It's nice to have a hub for people to go to if they just want to listen to your show. It's not hard if you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. I've experienced this firsthand. We had a previous show that I didn't have access to, and I was worried about it kind of convoluting the market a little bit. So the fact that we can run side by side is absolutely amazing. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Your message is important, and Buzzsprout is here to help you get it out there. We use it, we love it, and we know that you guys will love it too. So, like I said, there's some incentives behind it. Go ahead and check out the link that I'm going to be putting in the description and the show notes. Now, let's get back to the show. On this day in music history. All right. So on this day in music history back in 92, The Bodyguard opened nationwide featuring Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. The film was Houston's acting debut, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Was written by Lawrence Kasdan in the 70s, originally as a vehicle for Steve McQueen and Diana Ross. It became the second highest grossing film worldwide in 92, with the soundtrack becoming the best-selling soundtrack of all time, selling more than 42 million copies worldwide.
Remember when soundtracks were a thing?
Soundtracks were like a huge part of like...
It made the movie.
Totally.
People knew Dirty Dancing before.
I mean, how else would David Foster make all his money?
So much.
So much money. I was listening to Kevin Costner's eulogy for Whitney Houston, and he talked about he went to her church, and he talked about the audition process for Whitney and that role. He was already cast. And from what I remember him speaking about, it's on YouTube actually. It's amazing. Kevin Costner was just awesome about it. And he was talking about how nervous she was because she'd never acted and she had to do a screen test, right? And she was so nervous. And, there was the panel, the director, casting director, all that stuff. And it's very daunting to be in front of those people. So she did her... did a couple acting things in it, and then she sang a cappella, and the room was quiet, like dead quiet after she was finished. And the lights turned off. And she went to Kevin and she's like, what does that mean? And he's like, I think you got it. Yeah. Like, you know, like one of those things, right? She was just a natural at it. It was such a great movie.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable movie. Soundtrack was everything. Who would have thunk Dolly Parton song would have revived like that and
it's weird
skyrocketed.
that it's amazing when people find those old great songs that just never stayed. Like they were, like, I guess it was a number one. Was it a number one hit for Dolly in the country thing? I mean, it was.
I think so, because like it was contrary to what I understood. It was popular in her day.
Yeah, it was popular. Yeah,
it was popular,
but
for
it
her
died
to perform
for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, like it dwindled, like what songs do. You know, it wasn't going to be on the charts forever, but I mean, it was one of those songs where it was like, you know, I wrote, here it is, you know, but. When Whitney did it and the arrangement of it, I think that was a Foster arrangement, was it not? That must have been David Foster. Speaking of which, I'm going to fact check myself now that I'm able to with a computer. I will.
That song was. I mean, if you didn't live during that time, like, oh my God. She had an album before that, though, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. She was. I mean, she was.
The Whitney
huge.
album was out. I Want to Dance with Somebody was already out?
Yeah. How Will I Know was already out.
Because that was off. So who wrote on her first album? Those are great tunes.
Hey, man. One fact check at a time here.
Was she part of any of the writing thing
of that stuff? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I was still in the day of
there
like
was
singers
a
do their
lot
job.
Of good tunes on that.
So the country single was released in 1974.
Yeah.
Song was a commercial success for Parton. Mm-hmm. Twice reached the top spot of Billboard's Hot Country Songs. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
First in June, again in October of 1982, with a re-recording, rendition of the song from 1992, film The Bodyguard, 14 weeks, number one spot.
14 weeks, yeah.
Top 100 chart, setting new record, becoming one of the best-selling records of all time, and best single by a woman. Linda Ronstadt did it. John Doe recorded it. Amber Riley, Leanne Rimes did it. Sarah Washington.
Wow.
They all covered it. Let me...
It always blows my mind when all those cover versions and then someone else does it and just ridiculous. So many years later. That's what's so great about it. 20 years later.
95 version. What happened to the 92, 82 version, 95 version? Parton recorded... Oh, she recorded... Dolly Parton recorded again in 95, 3 years after Whitney did it, as a duet with Vince Gill.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, I remember that.
Whitney Houston version. Okay, here we go. Sorry for the dead air, people. I'm just really, like, I really want to know who produced the track. So released, I think, songwriters, Dolly Parton produced, David Foster.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he talked about that in his, he definitely talked about that in his documentary.
Yeah, and in Hitman, because he had Charisse. She was like a kid, and she did, he did too. He did I Will Always Love You, and he did, oh my God, I covered it. The other big Whitney song. Share my life, take me for what I am. Oh my God. I'm going to the lyrics.
The mouse is going slow in his brain.
I have nothing if I don't have you.
Oh, he did that?
Yeah. That was a Foster hit as well. Holy crap. We spent how many minutes was that? I'm sorry. This is what happens. Like once like I hear something, it's like, is this who did this and then who did that? A lot of quiet moments in my house because I'm just looking up stuff all the time. That's incredible, man. I mean, Foster was just a master at commercial music and production and stuff like that. He was the dude, right?
Over the top.
But I don't know what it was about that one in particular. It was a branch.
It was the breakdown.
It was a branch out of for even for Foster's production style, it wasn't.
It didn't scream Foster on
It didn't, because it was very like vocal heavy. It wasn't like soundtrack for the song, like St. Elmo's Fire kind of thing.
But I think he probably had that idea until she sang it, right? And then you're like,
well, he knew
take
her
that
voice.
out, take that out.
He knew her voice. He knew what she was capable of. The key change, though, that key change was
It should be a bigger meme. Seen some memes with it, but
with the goat. Have you seen the one with the goat?
Should be. That's how you know something's new and you're old.
But a cool thing too. 3 years later, on the same date, she went to #1 again on the U.S. singles chart with "Exhale," "Shoop Shoop," written by Babyface.
Babyface was a big player.
Babyface,
He was the original.
was a monster.
Yeah.
Both in studio and on stage, man.
He's a real deal. Like,
Who gave him his? Was it Bootsy that gave him his nickname, his Babyface?
gotta be.
I think Bootsy Collins gave him his. I gotta look it up.
All right.
Talk about something, man.
But just how, I don't know. I remember, like, it was just everywhere, that song, man. Holy
Bootsy
shit.
Collins.
Yeah, Bootsy.
Dude,
Bootsy.
have you listened to Silk Sonic's record?
Yeah. Yeah. So good.
Makes
Well
me want
worth
to
the
quit.
wait.
Makes me want to quit.
I mean, I was mad how long it was taking.
But I mean,
And I'm not mad no more.
worth the wait. Totally worth the wait.
What was the wait? Do you know? Did you look that up?
I think I watched an interview with Anderson .Paak and Bruno, and the process was just so organic for them. They have another album like ready, like they have another album that like is written, but I think that the writing process plus COVID, right? They wrote all of that during like 2020. So that definitely played into the delay because they wanted to be able to perform it live when it came out. So
It's such a live album,
dude. Them doing it live at the award shows and stuff like that. The most recent one, oh man, scary good.
Yeah.
Scary good. Like that sound, it's so completely uncomparable because it's modern context, modern production, but it's undeniably 70s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is so weird for my brain.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to work.
Yeah. It's not supposed to sound that. I mean, so many people have tried that and it just
Failed miserably. Well, we have pockets of time where like era albums come out. You know, like Amy Winehouse did it, Julie Black did it.
You know what? She got damn close.
Yeah, like there was those pockets of like the 60s, you know, Phil Spector kind of productions that were coming out in the early 2010s that made a resurgence, right? But with this stuff, I mean, it is so different because of how authentic it is. You can hear like how the recording. They gotta put out a documentary of how they did this record.
That'd be cool.
That would just Netflix would eat that up, man.
Because the video for Leave the Door Open is.
It's a great indication of like the atmosphere that it was.
Yeah.
You know,
They totally went for that vibe.
Totally, man. Like Anderson is, I mean, he doesn't. I watched him on the NPR's Tiny Desk concert when he did his project, and it's like
I almost feel like that was the one that put NPR more on the map.
for sure, man.
Like that was a big one.
His vocal phrasing, and I got to attribute it to the way that he drums as well. It's his phrasing is so good, but his melody choices, like you can hear. It's authentically him, even on the Silk Sonic stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so pinpoint, like he wrote that lick, he wrote that phrase. And there's like Bruno Mars phrases that he sings that you hear Anderson .Paak isms on it, and vice versa, right? Because Bruno's really great at those like just very obscure runs and riffs, right? Anderson .Paak doesn't really do that stuff, but his note choices are just it's so good, man. Like it's so great. Yeah, I don't know. This record. Do you think it's getting the attention it deserves?
No, I mean, they do well on the red carpets and the award shows, and I'm glad they're on everything because of their outfits and they're cool.
So it's not getting the attention it deserves for the reasons that it should be getting.
Yeah, because I don't think people are spinning it as much as how popular they are.
Yeah, because it's not a Bruno Mars record. It's not an Anderson .Paak record. It's a concept album.
Yeah, I wonder if they're, because I think there's a lot of Bruno Mars fans that wouldn't be Anderson .Paak fans.
Oh, it's definitely an introduction album for both sets of fans, for sure. And then Bootsy Collins fans would just listen to it because he was involved.
Yeah.
So but I just don't know. There's got to be, like, man.
But do albums get enough credit now anyways?
But if rotation was a thing,
yeah.
If rotation was a thing, this would get heavy rotation, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like, I wish that it got more accolades. Yes, the award shows is a great way for them to get their songs out there. The fashion shows and stuff like that. The Victoria's Secret thing that Bruno Mars already did with, I think he did it for 24 Karat Magic. He did the Victoria's Secret runway thing. I can see this on there. I can, like, it just, they got to do concerts, man.
Yeah.
They got to tour. I don't know if they're touring. They got to, right?
I would hope so.
They got to tour for this album.
That'd be so cool. We'd go.
Oh, in a heartbeat. We do live on location with this. Are you kidding me? But what kind of venue? This is good.
Yeah.
What kind of venue with this style? Obviously, because it's Bruno Mars, it's going to be an arena. But let's talk about what venue would be appropriate for that style of music.
Yeah, because like an outdoor venue wouldn't.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
Right, you play these outdoor things.
Is this a soft seat or are people on their feet?
That's the other thing, right? Like, you have to dance.
So this would be like a large club. I can see this in.
That'd be awesome.
Like a Soul Train kind of thing. Whereas like in a large indoor environment where people can dance, and like a Studio 54 kind of thing.
Yeah.
It would have to be one of those. Like, there can't be seats.
No.
Not with songs like this.
No, there couldn't be seats.
But do people know how to dance to this music anymore?
No. Well, white people.
White people think they know how to do. We think we know how to dance to this music.
I just
What is it?
That Chappelle show, that skit with him and John Mayer is the greatest thing ever. And they don't. It's so hard to find because if it goes on YouTube, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chappelle's a lot like Prince that way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Oh my god,
Chappelle. Oh, man, can we talk about him for a second? I know this is a behind the hooks thing, but Chappelle to me is more of a comedian with music timing. Mm-hmm. Than any comedians that I've heard. I treat Dave Chappelle as an artist the same way I would treat somebody like Bruno Mars or, just musically. He has a musicality about him in his comedy. There's a lot of controversy with the content of his comedy. But the thing about Dave Chappelle is he's not out. I love Dave Chappelle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm a huge fan, especially in his later years. Because in his younger years, I mean, like the Energizer Bunny in him. You know what I mean? I watched his 2004 stand-up special. And, it's like quintessential Chappelle show, Dave Chappelle, right? But now that he's older, he's got a family.
He's a wise man.
He speaks like he has old people rights, but it's not old people rights. He speaks like a person, what people are thinking. He's not out to be controversial. And he said that. He's like, as a comedian, like, I don't...
Some people are.
People are like
brash
to be brash.
Yeah.
Dave is just like, I've had this experience.
Yeah.
This is what happens when these experiences happen. I don't dislike anybody, you know what I mean? But, in and then he goes off and says something that people might take offense to, which is he has a no phone rule in his comedy shows because he's scared to take risks on stage when people are like holding up a phone.
Well, he's opening up, or maybe already did. I was listening to Joe Rogan and him, a comedy club, and I think he wanted to have. And Joe's like, "What's your what seating capacity would you want?" And he's like, "What was it, 80 or 120 people?"
Mm-hmm.
He goes, my favorite bar was this 80 seater. I think maybe 120. And he was talking about this 80, and he's like, people in there wanted you to try something new.
Yeah.
If you went up and did your shtick, but they'd be all over it, you know. And it's just like when we play, you know.
Workshopping is a huge part of it, man. Like we workshop our stuff. Like if in writing something, you want to workshop it in front of an audience,
a small.
Yeah, it's just a test group
audience that'll give you the honest, thing. Like that's the thing. Like if you play the amphitheater or the lawns, people really listening to you? No, at all. They're watching the video as the whole thing's gone. But when you play a small club.
Well, there's
so much more.
There's no veil.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Veil,
the fourth wall is gone.
Yeah,
because people are right in your face. And I think that's kind of beautiful. I did it backwards. Yeah, I did like the smaller gigs and stuff like that growing up. But like I went from large venues down to small. Dude, the nervousness that I had doing that, because in larger venue, I don't see anybody's face. I take my glasses off, it's just a sea of like nothingness out there.
You don't even see the front row because of the lights.
No, yeah, there's nothing. Like I've tripped because of lights and stuff like that. But I love hearing guys like Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle and like huge comedian acts that still workshop in small clubs, and how important it is to them to do that. Because I listen to comedy like I listen to music, because the way the stories fuse and come back around when it comes to punchlines.
Oh, yeah.
Punchline, like Dave Chappelle, man, he writes jokes backwards.
Yeah.
He comes with a punchline and then he says the punchline. Did you see that special? He says the punchline and starts a story and comes back to the punchline. Do you know how confident you have to be in your ability to do that? I equate that to like when we quote other songs within songs, or when you quote songs within songs. Do you know how confident you have to be in your ability to do something like that? Because I think we take it for granted because it's funny for us to do that on stage.
I was watching a band the other night, and their bass player at the end of the song played like 4 from fucking Miles Davis or something. And this singer's just like, you guys, hopefully some of you guys understand why that's so funny to me.
It is funny, man.
She was dying.
See, this goes to the conversation of music, and live music, because it changes the mood completely in a song. Like, because if a song's dragging but the crowd's dancing, right? You don't want to stop it.
Yeah.
But you want to kind of have fun with it too, right? So the audience is going to be like blatantly aware of what's going on stage, but the guys on stage, we're going to be like dying, right? The importance of quoting. So quoting is when you take like another song and put it within that song, and it's just a little quote from another song, and it is very entertaining.
Oh my god.
It is so entertaining. I mean, for people who don't know, probably not, it isn't. But I mean, it's entertaining to see our reactions and why we're laughing, and they want to know why we're laughing.
And if you get it. So I did that to Ryan on Thursday.
Of course you did.
Oh my god. So we're playing E to A. We're doing Buffalo Springfield tune. And so I play E, and then I play A, and I go bow now, ramble on, right? The 2 notes, E, da, 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 da. And I kept doing it, right? And Ryan kept trying to go in to sing, but like it was throwing him off, right? He couldn't start and then he just like, Manny, stop in the mic, right? And the whole crowd would like, all four of them were laughing and laughing because they got it. There was a lot of like, who was there? Was a bunch of musicians and everybody knows the Ramble On, right? And I started it like, it's so funny, and he got so mad at me like in a funny way, right? And just the crowd loved it. And it was like, there goes a moment that'll never happen again. And just ruining from quoting
those fleeting moments of just like pure bliss on stage. In terms of nervousness, do you have a harder time in front of smaller crowds or bigger crowds? Or does it depend on like the seriousness of the gig itself?
It's a whole bunch of factors, but the bigger the better, because the claps are going to be louder, right? Just because there's 200 people there, let's say, right? So 200 people clapping is a lot more than 8 people clapping, and then the venue is like, sometimes the soft seaters, they get kind of weird, because they're all staring at you when you walk out, right? But when you're playing a bar, even if it's huge or whatever, people are turning around little by little, right? So sometimes the soft seaters, the walk out, it's like, oh shit, like every note's gonna count. But huge, festivals and stuff are so easy.
Is it because the pressure to impress every single person is a lot less when there's more people? Because I mean, like the ratio to impressing people with a bigger crowd is a lot higher than if there's like 12 people in the audience. You're thinking about each individual person that way, because you can see each individual person.
And I love playing for strangers, people I don't know.
Yes,
right. So much more than it's so amazing with like when you play local with local people. All your other musicians friends show up and stuff, but you get nervous. You're like, well, they know, like these people know my playing. They know if I'm going to make a mistake. They know if I'm like,
you get nervous with that, really?
More nervous with that than like the same amount of people with same amount of people, but I don't know them, and they could all be musicians, and it's happened, right? But
I used to get scared playing in front of other musicians because I felt like I had something to prove.
Yeah, that
humble
mentality.
And it's that, that's exactly it, right? And it's just like I want to be good enough that they enjoy it, but it's not them that's going to keep me coming back. It's the people who hired me that's going to keep me coming back, who most of the time are strangers.
Yeah,
and I see what you mean. Like it's nerve-wracking when other musicians that like your friends that come out to the gig to support you, it's amazing, and it's so like it's awesome to see that. It does give you that sense of, okay, I really need to like show up here. I get that 100%. I get that, but I think it started happening before COVID. I stopped giving a shit about, not like in the way of like, I do appreciate them coming out and supporting and stuff like that. And I try to return the favor as much as possible and go out and see them play. Because that's just what you do, but I stopped giving a shit about, having to prove myself.
Because if you're worried about proving yourself, you're not giving your best.
No, because you're pretty much like you're trying to just, at that point you're just trying to get through the gig, and that's not really fun. A performance, that's session work. It's just getting through the gig,
I like it when musicians are coming back from a gig and they're getting their drink on or whatever. Then it's like, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Right? But it's kind of like, if they're, I don't know.
Does that hold a lot of weight to you? Like that sense of like that stamp of approval from like other musicians in the crowd that like enjoyed your stuff, and then they come up to you after the show and they compliment what you did specifically? Is that
was something that was definitely coming up. And I would like, it would be, it'd mean more from that and then there'd be like some guy who enjoyed all of it, and he'll like, I don't know him, and he'll be like, oh, that was great, and I'm like, you're just a drunk, right? But it's like now I've like,
has it flipped?
It's flipped a lot, right? Where I'm always like, I'm always thanking anybody who says anything nice to us about anything.
Well, you've got a showcase coming up, and you're gonna find that there's you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And you walk through the crowd, and it's just like these people are looking to hire you.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, they have no problem saying that was great job, loved what you did, that was so much fun to watch. Those kind of compliments are like they're not specific, right? Because they don't know exactly what you did, but they know that they liked it.
Well, yes,
those are nice
about that too. Because now I'm like, this is something different. These showcases are a little different.
They are different, but I found with the last one, it's not pressure. Same pressure as a gig, with just a crowd of people because even a regular gig, these are potential hires.
Yeah.
You never know what gigs you're gonna get from a gig, right? But with these people here, they're sitting down, they're enjoying your music. It's very like Copacabana style. Like people are sitting down and having a drink, listening to you. It's really cool, and they're there to have a good time as much as they're there to potentially hire you for their event. The beautiful thing, though, I've found is the fact that they can't really pinpoint what it was they liked, but they liked it. The fact that they liked it. It's like, and their compliments are very general. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get a lot of people that are going to go, hey, what kind of rig you running? Like that kind of thing. It's like, you play beautifully. Yeah. That's very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're there, they want to express to you that they enjoyed it so much, even though they can't express why, with detail. I enjoy that so much.
Yeah, it's always a nice compliment. I like it. I don't know what I liked, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm that way with movies and stuff and some art. I'm like, I like it.
I don't know why I feel this way, but I like this feeling, Yeah. Music's great that way. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't know, even in music. That's why I stay in it so long, because I'm still learning.
Yeah, constantly.
And it's constantly changing, right? So I found with playing with different musicians, especially, it's like getting ideas. I love that, being on stage and then getting home and like trying that out. But playing with us, I find like we all come back from those gigs with like a new tool in our toolkit. Yeah. And I love that, last gig we played, it's like, okay, we're going to throw a curveball here and like jump into that reggae stuff. And it's like, okay, it's a rough start. And then we found our way back. Having that kind of trust is something that,
that was actually a really, really good gig. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those gigs too, where it was so funny because we had the late gig that night and everybody had a lot of friends show up from their gigs. Mm-hmm. And then at one point it was like, wow, there's a lot of players in here. Well, we were grooving, we were playing so well that night.
Yeah. And
it was just great to like, they're just, being like, oh man, first time I've seen the whole band. It's great, right? So you guys are freaking way better. And I'm like, we were really good tonight, right?
It was on. It was an on night.
Just those, weird.
We're going to do it again.
It's just funny, right? Like, when people, like, when you play even with the same band, like that, it was just like, I don't know what happened at some point in the night, but I was like, I think all of us were like, this is really good. And it's always good, right? But then it was almost like we gave a little bit more, and we tried stuff out where we had a fail that we fixed, because you try something, you're actually trying stuff now.
Yeah, and they're not going to notice. The crowd's not going to notice, but we do, because we played it a certain way so many times. And coming back around, the eye contact, the okay, let's steer this ship back. You know what I mean? And it did, and it was friggin' great, you know. And I think it's going to keep happening that way. Knock on wood, because I don't know. I think we found a good group. Yeah. With the four of us as well. It seems like a healthy mix of different styles, different backgrounds, and stuff like that.
And we hate the same people.
It's a big thing. So this episode is unfortunately coming up after the market gig. This will
was
come
an
out
island.
after the market
You
gig.
do math.
But
But we'll be at
OV 10th and 18th.
Yeah.
This actually might come out the week of the 10th.
Ooh.
So that'd be dope.
Yeah. Come out Friday.
Come out, hang out. Manny,
It's gonna be magic.
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And we will see, well, you'll see us. We'll talk to you next week.
Sorry. We might have someone with us. We might not.
Yeah. See if we can get another guest on.
God, they keep saying no. It's so weird.
Yeah, right? I think it's the way you say it. I hate you, but come on our show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit smash
the
button. Support. Click the link below and
Donate.
donate if you can.
Christmas time.
Yeah, I mean, not for anything, just to talk, just very, very briefly. The donate is just like it would be for, busking and stuff like that. We're here, we're letting you in behind the scenes of what goes on in the music world. If you like this and there are incentives to it, I'm able to see who's donating, and we'd be happy to do something for you, there is incentives behind it. I will lay those out kind of like a Patreon kind of thing. If we can do something exclusive for those people, I document everyone. So yes, please support, and we'll see you guys next week. Take it easy.
Behind the Hooks. With Manny DeGrandis.